So welcome along to this next edition of Blast Bites. I'm really excited to introduce you to Ali Hay. Ali and I have been trying to get a chance to chat to each other for a few weeks now. We've finally managed to find a slot. So Ali Hay has the Ninja Warrior experience down on Salamander Street. He's the current #1 Ninja Warrior in the UK. He's also competed worldwide in Japan and other countries. And it's a really exciting sport that is trying to find its own recognition in that, hoping to be an Olympic sport by 2020. What did you say, Ali?
24, yeah. The
24. I mean, that's not far away. That's only wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was originally 2028, but it's just been pulled forward because the momentum seems to be there. So if we get 24, then sweet. If not, 28.
And you were saying that, we chatted a wee bit off air first, but you were saying that in America, ninja as a sport has been recognised for a lot longer, and therefore the population, the kids are not, they're at a much more advanced level already.
Yeah.
How's the UK, if it's going to be the Olympics, how are we going to get that gold medal?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel if it's the 2024 Olympics, you're not going to have a massive time to raise up a development squad. We're currently going through that whole process of getting the people in position. So I'm the chair of the Ninja Sport UK Commission underneath the UK OSF Federation, which is the UK Obstacle Sports Federation. And then there's a big world federation that governs them all. So there's a lot of countries that are already recognised as sports. There's a lot of countries you don't actually need to go through very diligent a process to become a sport. So they're just already sports. And then you've got countries like ours, which are incredibly difficult to be recognised as a sport. You need to go and meet certain criteria. There's a 2-year period you have to meet before you're allowed to be recognised, which we're nearly through, actually. We put it, with OCR and Ninja combined, obstacle sports racing, we've actually managed to speed that all up. And it comes down to membership numbers, retention numbers, all that kind of stuff, which we've got great figures for. So we're not worried about it. But like you said, getting the medal ready, getting the medalists ready will be difficult. If it comes around for 2024, we'll do a selection process amongst the existing athletes. So, for example, even myself, we'd get, the old guys like me and see how we still do against a lot of the younger guys.
Yeah.
And we would just have to go through a selection process based on potentially points, experience, how to handle these bigger situations as well, because that's something that they're not going to have any experience with unless they've done things like myself and competed in large audiences. So,
yes. I was excited. You mentioned that the similarity or the alignment with OCR. So for the people watching, so OCR is the obstacle course races, and so people might know them as Tough Mudder. Help me out here.
Like Sparta race, like anything that involves you running through obstacles over distance, plus half a K really is classed as obstacle sport racing. Anything lower than that's normally classed as ninja, and the obstacles in ninja are normally a lot more back to back and more difficult, really. So there's a few differences in our sports. The great thing is there's a lot of correlation there, where our training and our programs that we're coming up with training links really well, and running is a major part of that. Running UK and the athlete boards, etc., that all exist, have their own programs that have been around since day dot for how to advance as a sprinter, how to advance as a trail runner, how to advance as a long distance runner. And another thing that's a part of this that you guys might be interested in is you've not just got OCR and Ninja Sport, you also have adventure racing, which is the third part of this. So adventure racing is your 24-hour enduro races. It's your trail running across desert land. It's where there's survival elements that come in.
Yeah.
So that is its own entity as well. It doesn't have as huge an audience, but they have joined us because there's a lot of obstacles to overcome. There's a lot of links with ours, and as a joint body, just like you would the athletics, for example. Shot put and javelin and all that are all together under that. It's the same for the UK OSF. So we'll potentially have a lot of your viewers, a lot of people that you guys that come at your races already have dabbled in this along the lines,
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. And so have you? What about yourself? So obviously you're a ninja, and that's your thing. Is the obstacles indoors, I suppose. Have you done any of your Tough Mudders? Have you done any of the Sparta races?
Yeah, I've done a bunch of them over the years, and my fitness is normally really based around my asthma. So I'm asthmatic and I'm chronic. So like my asthma is at a level where it can be really affected by environmental changes. So for example, hot to cold, things like that. But also it can come on 3/4 of the way through a 10-mile run. It could just come out of nowhere. Fitness negates that a lot. So if my lung capacity, which doesn't seem to drop too much, even when I haven't done much, but when it does drop even just 5-10%, I'll notice it. The frequency in which I need my inhaler, then frequency in which I feel like I'm getting, an attack coming on or whatever. So running to me is something that I often do to negate that and to make sure that I've got the longevity in my lungs for if it's like a full day competing, that I'm not stopping starting. Because once your lungs, if you're not asthmatic and you've never been around an asthmatic, what happens is when your lungs seize, basically they're filling with like a mucus that fills your lungs. So you're kind of drowning within your own lungs, really. But when the symptoms start to loosen up, you're still left with all this mucus. So you actually feel really overburdened. Yes. Your lung capacity is restricted. So even though you're not going down the way, and your oxygen levels are going up, you're still, you feel really like lethargic. So if I compete and that happens first thing in the morning, I got about another 3 hours before my chest's clear. Yeah. So I have to factor these things in. So I'm an ambassador for Asthma UK, and we, running and getting out, even just for like long walks in different environments, is incredibly important. To keep that happening. So I'd like to do more. I'm not doing anywhere near as much right now. Like I was saying before when we were chatting, I've been doing a lot of weights. I'm trying to counter some injuries. I snapped my Achilles about 2 years ago as well, which was a horror. So there was a year of like no running really at all. And
but because you've mentioned 10-milers there, but I think you've also said that you were a sprinter. Is that right?
Yeah, so sprinter is more my style. So before, I think actually part of the problem why I ruptured my Achilles was I was running. So I normally, when it's competitive season, I'll be training 6-7 days a week, and my rest is just in which parts of the body are actually resting, opposed to just a day of rest. Yes. And it was, I was running. I was doing sprints at least twice a week, and running probably around 3 times a week. And then with my ninja training, which has a lot of really fast, explosive movements on your Achilles. And I think what happens, I just basically partially ruptured it just through the ongoing, not recognising symptoms of tendinitis either, which I know probably a lot of your viewers have experienced over the years, tendinitis.
Including me,
It's a horror, but once you recognise it, you'll never not recognise it. Yes. And I had never experienced it, and I was like, what's going on here? I think I pulled my calf. And then it was like, boom, nope. That's my Achilles away. So
were you in? Did you have to go into a moon boot and all of that?
Oh God! So it was a 93% rupture. So it was like nylon fully gone. It was at the muscular junction, which 1 in 10 doctors can pick correctly. They did a study on this, and what blows my mind is that Achilles and a lot of the tendons, especially in our ankles, really are not studied in great detail. When I was doing my recovery on it, my physio, etc., was almost like the stuff we're doing right now. Nobody's put this information on writing, and nobody's really tested it. It's all based on 60 to 70-year-olds. It's all based on that slow repair, not early aggravation, no early, steps to start building the tendon strong. So we kind of experimented with me because we had to do a conservative method. You just couldn't stitch it back together where it ruptured.
Right.
So I had to have the foot full flex and basically just try and let the tendons join.
Yes.
And then slowly stretch the tendon.
Slowly.
But you basically are regrowing a tendon. So you've kind of got like a baby tendon, whereas your tendons you have now have had to deal with what they've had to deal with growing up. And I said, well, surely this is a point in time where we can make it stronger then. If I had to develop as a kid, I wasn't doing as much mad and heavy things that I'm doing now. So surely this is a chance to make it stronger. So I'm not sure if that's the case, but it's much thicker. It's like twice as thick as my other side.
Right.
And it hasn't given me any problems since I've got stronger with it. I don't think the calf fully attached properly. There's parts of the calf that just haven't came back.
And when you're doing your assault course thing indoors, are you barefoot? Or are you in trainers?
Trainers. I mean, they're like the thinnest soles you'll imagine. So yeah, they are very thin.
Is there now that the sport is growing, and especially in America, have they developed a ninja shoe?
Yeah, they've developed a few types. I'm actually in talks with a company just now about trying to get more specific, because once this blows up Olympic wise, everybody's going to be playing catch up. So for anybody who's out there who is a contact in that respect, speak to me, because I'm not tied in with anybody, and I've got a lot of plans for that.
A lot of ideas for that. Because I suppose so you're saying it needs to be thin, the shoe I'm talking about. So it needs to be thin sole, but really flexible.
Flexy.
But do you need a bit of bounce in it as well?
Not so much. You just want it to cut the heel decent. You need coverage over the toe and over the sides of the toe with whatever grip you have on the bottom. It can't just be material and then it stops at the toe edge. Yes. Just because there's a lot of movements where your feet will be on their angles.
So I suppose a little bit like climbing shoes?
To an extent, it's like a different material, a lot more give in them, but that kind of minimalist style of shoe. Some of the OCR ones are kind of like it. And there is a few companies brought out really basic ninja shoes and things. Nothing in the UK. And we've got some good companies that produce shoes out here. You've got New Balance, you've got Innovate, you've got a lot of good shoes that are made out here. And if we get on that quick and we produce a decent enough squad, it suddenly becomes something way more marketable. And I find that the community who is in the OCR side have all come from running backgrounds. They've all been long distance. They've all enjoyed trail running, hill running. And then they've realised actually I like the obstacles, kind of keep it fresh. And then you get people like me who were naturally sprinters, have been drawn into the OCR because there's obstacles. Yes. And I need to improve my lung capacity. So I'm like, this is great for me to get involved with. So
now, you must have been a hurdler at school, surely.
Well, I'm not tall. I'm only like 5'9". So for me, I was not bad at hurdling because I played basketball, so I could jump. But the ninja side has come from absolutely just climbing everything as a kid, I'm sure. That's all it comes from. It's learning physics, early movement. I mean, I grew up in the country. There was like no clubs out here, There'd be a teacher come for 3 months who could do karate. We'd all learn karate and they'd vanish. It would be like, great. We got to like one belt up and and then Taekwondo, and it'd be, so you just do whatever came. And I think that helped and didn't help in some respects, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And so yes, you had that background, so your sprinting background, you had a wee bit of martial art, 3 months here and there as a kid, everything. But what drew you to Ninja Warrior? Was it something you'd watched on TV and thought, I want to do that? Or were you already doing that kind of thing? Or what took you down that path?
To be honest, I've got one of those kind of tunnel vision attentions where if I know there's something worth going into, I'll really focus and I'll go into it. And I hadn't found. I mean, I'd been skateboarding for years and snowboarding for years, and I was at a point with my snowboarding where I was starting to dabble in local comps up in the Highlands and things. And I had an events company. Well, I still got it in theory with COVID. An events company, and we would mainly travel from like May to September, October. So a lot of the winter I would just live abroad or wherever I would go and travel before I had the kids. So that was great for the snowboarding side. And then the kids came along and there was no real winter travel. And I bought another events company and it opened my calendar up to pretty much all year. So suddenly my tunnel vision on the snowboarding and skating side of things kind of went away. And then I'd been doing a lot of just general powerlifting and lifting. And the guy in the gym was like, they're looking for people in Ninja Warrior UK from Scotland. I've not got many Scots on there. And I had known about the American one for years. And I watched the Japanese one when I was a kid. So, I remember watching Sasuke, it means Ninja Warrior in Japanese, on, Challenge TV and stuff. And I'm guarantee some of your viewers will have watched it as well. And I used to think, these wee ripped guys who were, above mud on these big scaffolding rigs, and I used to think, they look absolutely nuts. I just remember watching them. And I've got such vivid memories of it, too. It's almost really one of those kind of surreal I remember it, and then now years later, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And I watched these guys competing, and I thought, oh, we've got a UK version. They're like, yeah, it's been out for like a couple of years now. So I checked out on like ITV Play, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Looked pretty easy kind of thing. So I went for it, and they made it a little bit harder because every year it gets harder. And I did really well. And then it was like, that was me. I was like, I can do this. I didn't even train for that before. Like, I can focus on this and I can do well.
Wow.
But it was also I think I missed competing. You know, I miss competing at things. It holds me to ransom. I'm very strict on myself when I know there's a reason to be. When there's not, I just can't find reason and disciplining myself all the time. You know, I train still every day and whatever, but if I want to have a bacon roll, I'll have a bacon roll. You know, whereas when I'm competing, I'm like, no, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't tie in with your training right now. Yeah. So I think competitive mindsets are good for me generally, you know. Like,
I know, and I think a lot of our runners, that's what they're missing just now as well. Just, it's fine, as you say, go out, doing your miles, do your training, but essentially training for what? And is it just, that goal has just gone at the moment, and it's people are finding it difficult, aren't they?
The drive as well, you know, there's part of there's so many things we do in society that are part of, like, not just keeping fit for fitness sake. It's keeping fit because you feel better about yourself. You're keeping fit because you look better. You're keeping fit because, you know, it's social. There's things that you do that are social. Yeah. And when they're all taken away, you're kind of a bit like, what? And then for those, again, on top of those things who compete, then you've not got the light at the end of the tunnel where you're going, this is what I'm pushing for. So I think, I know everybody's struggling with that right now, definitely. So fingers crossed when it comes back again. You know, Japan was in November, so last November, and I pretty sure I had COVID when I came back from Japan, but don't know if that's true or not. But I never get sick ever. And I came back, and it was like the first week in December, and I was floored for 10 days. I don't get chest infections despite being asthmatic.
I know. I was going to ask you, are you not in one of the risk categories with your asthma?
Yeah. So this virus, whatever I had when I come back, I couldn't breathe for like 10 days. I mean, I worked out. I used about 4 full brand new inhalers in that 10 days, which is obscene. Like, that's an insane amount. And it floored me, and the symptoms were everything. So at the time, COVID was only in kind of Asia at that point. It was in China, and there's a few other states that had reported it, but it hadn't really reached mainstream out here yet. And this was in early December, and I felt really like, you know, didn't know what it was. And then anyway, months later, when it did hit, and we went through the symptoms, we all kind of looked at each other and were like, that sounded very, very similar to what I'd had. Yeah. Back then, but I mean, they reckon the earliest cases in October in Scotland. Early strains were potentially October time, so there's a good chance it was something similar. It was respiratory, that's 100% certain, and it did affect my taste and my smell. I've got really good taste, so I was like, "This is weird. I can't taste anything."
Oh, well, listen. Thankfully, you pulled through. I wonder if you had known if it was COVID, it might have been a bit more of a frightening experience, and instead it was just this is really odd and horrible. But
that's it. I mean, I've never been worried about illness and stuff. Illness is what it is. It's, you know, you can be as fit as you want. If it's going to hit you, it's going to hit you. You just have to deal with it when it comes, kind of thing. I don't think living your life in a preventative manner helps living life. So I've always been in a more kind of like, if I'm strong and fit enough to handle things and I know my body and I can listen to it, then I'm way more able to deal with something. But I'm not going to spend my life trying to prevent something. You know, what will be kind of thing. So I'd missed when I come back from Japan, it wasn't great. And I was fingers crossing for Japan this year because I actually hurt my ankle competing there last year. And I was absolutely heartbroken. So I was the first UK invite in like 25 years to their show. Right. And I met the guys that I watched when I was that kid. So they ripped the guys I was talking about. I knew some of them because I used to watch it. And one of them comes up and asks for a selfie with me because he'd watched the UK show. And I was like, are you joking? I was like, 9-year-old.
That's brilliant. That is so, I think that's a really nice place to finish, I think, Ali, that, you've these Japanese ripped guys, as you call them,
they were so strong.
Are now wanting your your autograph or your photo. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ali. I really appreciate your time and
no, not a problem.
Your chat. It's just the OCR and the Ninja. It's just such a different branch to running and fitness that I'm sure a lot of people will be interested to hear about. So yeah, thank you so much.
No, for sure. And if you ever want to dabble in that world, come get involved. I mean, we always need more coordinators. We always need more runners as well. And it's always a good crack, especially if you've got big groups and communities already. So hope everybody stays safe, and thank you guys.